Hello and welcome to this webinar with Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We're so excited and so happy to have you join us today. Feel free to put in the chat where you're from and where you're watching from. We'd love to hear about where you're watching from. My name is Kayleen and I am a recruiting consultant here at Worldwide Health Staff Solutions.
Yeah, thank you, Kayleen. My name is Kaylee, so similar, but a little bit different. And I am an associate recruiter, and we're excited to be here today with you guys. I'm happy to answer some FAQs, frequently asked questions about the recruiting process. So yeah, we'd love to hear where you guys are from and all the good facts about you.
Great, well, let's go ahead and jump in.
Okay, so I'll just, starting off, we're just going to talk about our different U.S. employers and the visas that they offer. So we work with many different U.S. employers who are really excited about hiring international nurses. They come to us for help with that. And there's some different visa types that these facilities can use to help you arrive and start working. There's also some pros and cons to each visa type to keep in mind. So your recruiter's happy to go over that with you in detail. But just some ideas that we have here that we're going to share is an EB3 green card is our main, most common visa type that employers offer. That's what we see typically. So with EB3 visas, you and your family would receive green cards in the U.S. The immigration process typically takes about 18 to 24 months. Your spouse, if you have one, would be able to have work authorization along with all of the other benefits of being a permanent resident of the United States. So that does come with a lot of benefits that you can ask your recruiter about or research. There's also, the job openings are dependent on each employer's needs. So specialties and locations are always varying, but EB3 opportunities are what we regularly see with employers. So most of our opportunities that we get with different specialties are EB3. Every once in a while we have some other ones, and Kayleen will go over those.
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee. So as Kaylee mentioned, the majority of our opportunities are EB3 green card opportunities. However, every now and then we do have opportunities for an H-1B visa. An H-1B visa is strictly a working visa, and there's a lot going on right now about H-1B visas. They're pretty popular. One reason that a lot of applicants do like the H-1B visa is because the immigration process is shorter. We anticipate that most of the time it takes around 9 months for applicants to arrive. And you could definitely add dependents to that application as well. However, one downside is that your spouse will not have work authorization. They will be on what's called an H-4 visa, and they will not be able to work while you are fulfilling your contract. I also wanted to share that with the H-1B visa, there's a couple different specific qualifications. While EB3, there's a wide range of qualifications that you can have. H-1B requires that you have a bachelor's degree in nursing, as well as at least 2 years of current experience. And you also need a completed visa screen. So again, these are just some specific qualifications for H-1B. Again, a little bit different from EB3. If you have additional questions about an H-1B visa, you're welcome to reach out to your recruiter and ask them any other questions, and we're happy to assist. Also, just wanted to briefly share that H-1B visas are only available to specific U.S. employers. It's a little bit complicated, so I won't go into all of those details today, but I just wanted to simply share that not every hospital qualifies to bring applicants to the U.S. to work for them on an H-1B. So again, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us or reach out to your recruiter. For a TN visa, this is for applicants who have citizenship in Mexico or in Canada. And it's similar in the way that it's strictly a working visa for Canadians or Mexicans. And just similar to H-1B, it does have a couple specific requirements that you have to meet prior to an interview. And your spouse also, unfortunately, will not be able to work on a TN visa. But if you're interested in this option, we highly encourage you to apply on our website, healthstaff.org. And we'd love to help you with that process. Again, the TN process takes very short amount of time compared to the EB3 process. So that's why some applicants do prefer the TN process. So those are our visa types. Great. So we'll move on to our next commonly asked question. A lot of times when you apply on our website, well, no matter who you are, as soon as you apply on our website, you'll be assigned to a recruiter. Right now, we are looking for registered nurses who have passed the NCLEX. And you will be able to be in contact with that recruiter. We communicate over email, but we also have phone calls, and we're starting to use WhatsApp. So that's exciting as well, that you're able to communicate with your recruiter. And oftentimes one of the first things that they share is that they've put you on a waiting list. Sometimes that waiting list can be specific to the location that you would like to relocate to, or it can be specific to the unit that you're working in. So it kind of just depends on the specific waiting list. And again, I just want to go over some of those requirements. So even before you get on a waiting list, you'll need to have passed your NCLEX. You'll also need to have some formal nursing education. While some of our U.S. employers do accept diploma or associate degrees, we do recommend or prefer that you have your bachelor's degree in nursing. But again, feel free to apply even if you don't have your bachelor's degree. And then we would love all of the U.S. employers that we are working with want you to have at least 1 to 2 years of experience in one specific unit. And yeah, Kaylee will share more information about waiting lists and what this means.
Yeah, so something to know about our waiting lists is we at Worldwide Health Staff continue to build relationships with different health systems across the U.S. And this is to increase our interview opportunities for all of our applicants. And these new opportunities become available often with different locations and units, since it's all different employers and we're direct hire. We work with direct hire opportunities. These locations and units are always changing as we have new opportunities. So being on a waiting list ensures that your recruiter has you lined up for when the next interview opportunity in your specialty becomes available. So you're going to want to let us know about your current unit, just what kind of cases you've seen and worked with, your previous experience, just kind of touch briefly on that. And then just all of your qualifications like the NCLEX and your education. And then we would be able to put you on a waiting list just so that it's ready to go once we have that specialty open up and have a new employer or a recurring employer that has that specialty interviews. So once this specialty opens up for the interview, then we would just have you ready to contact from that waiting list. So feel free to reach out for updates from time to time, but we will do our best to update you when a good fit becomes available. So your recruiter will reach out to you. Sometimes there will just be big opportunities coming up, like a whole hiring event. And sometimes it's a little bit smaller events. So it just depends on, like it might just come up at the right timing, or you might have a little bit of a wait, but either way, we have you ready to go and we have you on our waiting list. So we're always happy to help and check in with you. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask, because that's what we're here for. So that's what we would be able to do with the waiting lists. And then also just to keep in mind that every specialty is different. I would say med-surg is a little bit more of our common interview specialties. There's also a few others that, it just depends from time to time. Sometimes we have a lot of emergency department or ICU or step down, cardiac. And then sometimes there's some other specialties like NICU or PICU, things like that. It just really depends on the time again. But those sometimes only come so often. So we might have more limited opportunities with that. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind, that every specialty is different. The timing is always different. So either way, we'll have you on our waiting list ready to go.
Yeah, another thing that we wanted to point out is that oftentimes when nurses apply and start working with a recruiter, they'll let their recruiter know which locations they're most interested in. And we definitely encourage you to do this. There's, as many of you know, there are 50 states in the US, and each of them is unique and different in their own ways. And while sometimes nurses want a specific state, we encourage you to have an open mind to maybe a state that you haven't heard of before. We have all of our U.S. employers are excellent, and they may not be in a more popular state or a state that you've heard of, but we have had great nurses interview for these great facilities. And maybe even though their state wasn't that for their first choice, if they did accept an offer with a state that they chose to interview with, it ended up being something great. So we just encourage you to keep an open mind and obviously ask your recruiter all questions. We're happy to talk about the weather and do some research in the community as well as the hospital facility. Something else that we wanted to point out here is that we often get a lot of questions about the English exam. Now, I want to emphasize that taking an English exam at this stage of the process prior to an interview or prior to applying to Worldwide Health Staff Solutions, you do not need to have a completed English exam. However, sometimes we do have applicants that apply that already have that completed English exam. There's a lot. There's IELTS, there's TOEFL, there's PTE, MET. So there's just a couple different kinds of English exams. And each state accepts some of the different ones, so that not all of them are accepted across all states. But if you have specific questions about a specific English exam, then feel free to ask your recruiter. They'll be happy to look into which state accepts that specific English exam. Also just wanted to point out that in general, the IELTS and the TOEFL are much more widely accepted than the other English exams. But again, if you have a specific question regarding an exam that you have taken, then feel free to ask your recruiter and we can find that information for you. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so something really important is what questions you ask during an interview. So you're going to want to prepare in a way that you're ready to be asked those questions by the interviewer, and then also that you have some questions prepared for the interviewer as well. So I would say my best tips are to research the hospital and the health system. That's just going to show the interviewer that you are prepared and excited about the opportunity with that specific employer. So you can just go online and research the health system. If you can find the specific hospital information, that's even better. Looking at their mission statement and what they believe in, and also just looking at their stats and just different like bed capacity or just all kinds of things you can research about the hospital. And if you show that information in the interview, the interviewer will be impressed and excited about that, so they know that you're taking it seriously. So that would be number one tip. And then also researching the location. So since these are direct hire opportunities and they're in different states and different cities, as Kayleen was talking about, the location is going to be different for each interview. So the specific city, I would recommend asking the interviewer about the city and their tips on that. And like, you can research it beforehand. And if you have questions, that's a great time to ask the interviewer. So since they live in that city or around that city, they will probably have some good information about it. And I will say too, with location, as Kayleen was saying, sometimes people are wanting like the bigger cities and more popular US cities that are more well-known. But a lot of these other cities are great. Like a lot of the time they're more safe options if they're a smaller town. It just depends on where you're at, but there's a lot of locations that we have that have like lower crime rates or lower cost of living. So it really just depends on what you're looking for and what we have available. And we're happy to, let you know some more information as well about the location and just kind of some tips because we can also hear from other nurses that have accepted offers there, or sometimes we'll have hiring events and we'll have recruiters that have gone out to the specific location that you're interviewing for. So anyway, you can definitely ask your recruiter ahead of time, research, but asking the interviewer as well is a great option too. Also, asking your interviewer about the specific unit that you're going to be working in or that you're applying for is a great opportunity for that. So asking them questions about like patient ratio, what day-to-day looks like in the unit, any specific unit questions about like technology or cases, that's what you're going to want to make sure you're asking in that interview. So this is your chance to ask about it. They're going to have all that information since they work in it day in and day out. So yeah, those would be my main things that I would recommend asking in the interview. What to ask your recruiter after the interview, or you can even ask before the interview, but just saving it for your recruiter would be about the immigration process. Since Worldwide is the one that is dealing with the immigration process, we're helping you through that whole immigration process. The employer would be sponsoring you, but they are not involved in the documents and the immigration process. Also about wage, that's a big one, is that your recruiter would be able to help talk with you about the wage that they're offering, and it's calculated with your years of experience and with the cost of living in the area, what unit you're going to be working in, and then also any benefits or things that aren't included in an offer if you receive one. Your recruiter would be able to help answer those questions as well. So that's just kind of the overview of questions to ask during the interview and what to expect for an interview. So yeah, those would be my main tips for that. You're always welcome to ask your recruiter any questions beforehand and clarify anything beforehand to make sure that you're ready for that interview. A lot of recruiters are implementing interview prep calls, so feel free to ask about that. We're happy to, practice with you and make sure that you feel confident and ready for your interview, because we're excited for you and we're rooting for you.
Thanks, Kaylee. Next slide, please. Thanks, CJ. So at this stage of the process, your interview is scheduled. So you've applied with us, you get in contact with a recruiter, you are on their waiting list, and then they've reached out to you and let you know that there's a great opportunity that they think that you would be a good fit for. So once your interview is scheduled, you can expect that your recruiter will confirm the date and the time. We typically make sure that we have your correct time zone, so there's not confusion there, but you're always welcome to double check and to confirm that it's in your current time zone and not in a different time zone. And then on the day of your interview, someone will reach out to you, normally over email, with the Zoom link. And as soon as you have that Zoom link, you're welcome to join the Zoom call, and it will automatically put you in a waiting room. While you're in that waiting room, you're welcome to look through and do some, continue to look for resources about the hospital. You're welcome to look through their website or other resources that your recruiter has already sent to you while you're waiting for that interview to begin. And then once they're ready for you, they'll allow you into the Zoom room, and then you'll meet the interviewer and be able to complete your interview. Something that Kaylee pointed out is that a lot of the recruiters at Worldwide Health staff are starting to do interview prep calls. And again, I think this is just a great opportunity to learn more about questions to ask, what questions to avoid, as well as how you can best prepare for your interview. The interviewer is excited to meet you, and they've looked at your resume, and they're excited to get to know you. So in a similar way, it's a great opportunity to prepare for and to be ready for that interview.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I would say that after the interview, it does take some time to get the interview feedback typically. Sometimes they're really quick, and other times it might take a few weeks. So just try to be as patient as you can with the interview feedback and waiting for that. I know you're excited. The interviewer is excited as well. They've just gotten to know you, and because it's a direct hire process, it just takes some time to go through all of the unit managers and make sure that everything's approved to get you an offer if they're going to extend an offer. But your recruiter will be in touch with you. You're welcome to check back in after, a few days or so and see if there's an update. But yeah, typically I would say it would take a few days to a few weeks. So it just depends on the employer and just the whole process of that. So we're happy to help in the meantime if you have questions as well. That's a good time to ask your recruiter as well while you're waiting for feedback. And then if you receive an offer, or even if you don't receive an offer, just make sure to always stay in contact with us. So we want to support you in this decision. So we understand if you are looking into signing an offer. And of course, you're going to have questions or just want some reassurance on it even. So we're happy to help with that and answer any questions and all questions that you have surrounding an offer. And then if you don't receive an offer for the first interview, we're happy to help with other interviews. So yeah, just make sure to stay in touch with us, and either way, we'll be helping you along the way and with whatever outcome there is. And also, I do want to point out at this stage that Kayleen talked a little bit about the English exam before this. So it's not required ahead of time, like in the interview process, but if you haven't taken an English exam by this stage, now is a good time to ask your recruiter about which exams are accepted in the state that you're interviewing for. So if you just did an interview in Iowa, for example, then you can ask about which English exams are accepted for that state. So you can ask about, specific states and English exams and all of that. You wouldn't have to take it until a little bit later in the process. So that's during the immigration process after you accept an offer. But yeah, it's always a good idea to keep that in mind and kind of keep it in the back of your head and just be ready for the immigration process and planning ahead.
Great. Thanks, Kaylee. Another common question that we as recruiters get all the time is questions about the process time and how long it can be expected to wait, or what we can share about retrogression. And there's definitely lots to say about how long the process will take. The EB3 process, as mentioned earlier, we do anticipate that it can take anywhere from 18 to 24 months. And we understand that this is a long time. We have a great handout. It's called Retrogression Mindset. And it simply just talks about some things that you can do to actively wait while you're waiting. Maybe you're waiting for an interview, or maybe you're already in process waiting for your immigration to be completed. And if you're waiting for an interview, I wanted to point out that international recruitment is a very competitive environment right now. There are many nurses that are international nurses who have passed the NCLEX and are interested in coming to the US to work as an RN. So definitely keep that in mind, that maybe if you've had an interview already and the employer decided to not extend you an offer, keep in mind that there are so many other nurses that are looking for a similar job similar to you. However, we're confident that we're able to help you find an employer that will extend you an offer. So again, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this handout that's called Retrogression Mindset. And if you don't already have a copy of this, then I encourage you to reach out to your recruiter and ask for a copy. I think it's a great resource, and I'll just go through a couple of elements. One thing that you can do while you're waiting is you can continue to develop yourself professionally. You can get on LinkedIn and connect with Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. You can also follow other hospitals or other facilities that you've heard of or that you're interested in. You can also join online forums that talk about nursing and talking about, again, this competitive environment that I've already mentioned, but just other what healthcare employers are looking for in applicants. There's also things that you can do to make sure that you are focusing on the things that you can control versus the things that you can't control. Something that we tell our applicants sometimes is that ultimately, if it were my choice, if it were up to Kayleen, I would have you here tomorrow. We want you to arrive just as quickly as you want to arrive. However, there is a process to follow, and we want to make sure that we don't miss any details. And our attorney team is excellent at this, making sure that we have all the details in line and that we process your application the way that it should be processed. So the second page of this document just talks about some other things that you can be involved in other areas of your life, again, while you're waiting for your immigration to be processed. You can work on your English skills, or you can learn another language. I know there's lots of great apps and great resources out there that you can use to develop these skills. There's also other things such as setting fitness goals or spending more time outside or spending time with loved ones and friends and family. Ultimately, in the end, time will pass either way. But I've noticed in my own personal life that as I have focused on things that I can control and focus on areas that I can improve about my life, that time will pass either way. And then eventually that I will reach that goal or obtain the thing that I'm hoping to obtain. So again, this is a great resource, and we'd encourage you to look through it. It just shares a lot of great ideas about what you can do while you're waiting for your processing to be completed.
Yeah, thank you, Kayleen. And I just wanted to jump in as well and just add to a few of your points that you said, because that was great. I think that's some great advice. I think just making sure that you're doing all the things that you can to prepare for immigration as you're also waiting. So like making sure that you're ready, getting your documents ready. Of course, when you're with your case manager, they're going to be helping you know what those steps are going to be. Like getting ready for your English exam, just being prepared and developing your skills in your current unit and continuing working as well. You have to keep working during the process. So just making sure that you're continuing there. And then also what Kayleen was saying about the interview process. Sometimes there are other great applicants that might receive a job offer and maybe you didn't receive an offer, but sometimes they really do want to hire you. They just might have limited openings. So I just wanted to point out that sometimes you might do a really great job in one interview and they just don't have the capacity to hire all of the amazing nurses that they want to hire. That's why we're here to help with another interview. We don't want you to get discouraged because we want you to, be able to find the right employer and find someone that is happy and excited to have you on their team. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee. And then just one other quick note regarding retrogression. If you didn't already know, every month the immigration department will release what's called the visa bulletin. If you don't already have a link, again, this is a great question to ask your recruiter, and they'd be happy to share this link with you. So they've released what they anticipate or what we expect for April. And it has moved forward a little bit to March of 2023. So this is a great step, even if it's a small step. The Visa Bulletin is a great resource to kind of help you know where retrogression is at. So another great resource. Okay, I think we're ready for some questions. We have CJ here to join us, and he'll help us with some questions. So thanks so much, CJ, for being with us.
All right, no problem. Thanks, Kaylee and Kaylee. Thank you for that presentation, and it's always good to know, the common questions that we get from our international nurses. So, with that being said, I still see like some common questions from the chat. So I can see here like requirements questions like, do you recruit fresh graduate nurses with less than 1 year experience or even no clinical experience?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So currently, all of our current employers right now are looking for 1 to 2 years of experience. You're always welcome to apply to our website either way, and we'll see what we have available at the moment. Every once in a while, we do have employers that accept new grads and are looking for that kind of nurse. So you're always welcome to apply and see what we have. But currently, I'll be transparent and say we don't have anything for those that don't have at least a year of experience.
All right. Thanks, Kaylee. Another question. I think this is also about requirements. We mentioned about NCLEX and the college degree and the experience. How about visa screen? Do we also need that?
Yeah, another great question. So at the stage that you apply with us, a visa screen is not required to apply. So you're welcome to apply at healthstaff.org even without the visa screen. We did mention that for the H-1B visa specifically, in order to qualify for an interview, you do need to have a visa screen in hand. But again, we still welcome you to apply, even if you only want H-1B and you're still working on your visa screen, that's okay. Still apply. And then once you do meet those qualifications, then we'd be happy to set you up with an interview.
All right, cool. Very well said. Next question is asking if I wasn't able to pass the credentials assessment, will I ever be able to secure a spot for an interview?
I think they're referring to the NCLEX, maybe the credentials assessment. Yeah, so right now we are exclusively looking for registered nurses who have passed the NCLEX. However, if you are a different healthcare professional or if you haven't passed the NCLEX, again, you're welcome to apply on our website, and we will reach out to you if we do have any openings. However, as previously mentioned, right now we only have opportunities for applicants who have passed the NCLEX.
Okay, and you mentioned that we have openings for nurses. How about for med tech? So we also have a question from Estelle that she wishes to apply for a med tech position, and she has ASCPI and IELTS.
Yeah, another great question. We recommend that you apply on our website. I believe I don't want to say that we do because I'm unsure if we have med tech openings currently, but I know that sometimes we do have new openings. Our team in the Philippines assists med tech, so they'll be happy to connect with you if we do have openings. But once again, it's free to apply. You're welcome to apply, and if we do have openings, then we'll be in contact with you. That's a great question.
All right. Okay, next question is, I think this one is a great question from Cynthia. When is the possible employer interview in the Philippines? I know we had like employer interviews before in the Philippines. When will be the next one? Do you have any information about that, Kayleen or Kaylee?
Yeah, so since we're direct hire, we're always setting up new interviews and all of that, like we were talking about. But yeah, so as opportunities become available, that's when we will know what we have coming up specifically typically, you're able to, over Zoom, have an interview remotely. So wherever you're at, you're able to interview for any of our employers in the U.S. I'm not sure when there would be an in-person interview. But yeah, I would say that almost all of our interviews are over Zoom. They're remote, so you can just remote from wherever you are in the world. And that's the nice thing about that. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
Okay, thank you. I think we're done with the last question. And before I read that, I just want all you to know that we have like a live chat. I'll put that in the link. So if you have any questions, recruitment questions, or any questions about your case, please access this link. Our recruiters are always happy to assist you, and they're available through chat. Okay, so our last question, let me check here from Sunny. How many hours of work is involved in the contract?
Yeah, another great question. So right now, all of our contracts are for 3 years. So when you interview and then you sign on with an employer, you'll be expected to work for the duration of 3 years. It's not really measured by hours. So if you work overtime, it won't really contribute towards like those 3 years typically. But again, just the 3 years is pretty standard for all of our contracts.
All right, very well said. Okay, so that's for our Q&A session. And I mentioned a while ago, you can always, access the live chat, our live chat link, and, throw in some questions there. So I also want to mention about this next slide, that we have a great referral nurse program. So you will earn up to $250 when you refer your RN friends or coworkers, and once that their petition is filed. And the good thing about this is you don't need to wait for years to get your reward. Plus, there is no limit to how many nurses you can refer. So you start referring your friends or colleagues now. And I think that's it from on my side. Any last thoughts, Kayleen and Kaylee?
Yeah, thanks again for joining our webinar today. And this email is actually something else that I was going to point out, that if you have additional questions and still want to figure more about your case or anything like that, we encourage you to reach out to recruiting@healthstaff.org. So thanks for your time today. Anything else, Kaylee?
Yeah, just thank you for joining us. And when in doubt, just apply. If you have questions, apply and you'll be assigned to a recruiter. Your recruiter will be happy to help you. So yeah, we're excited to speak with you all. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.